Let me see. When was 9? Did we do? Yes. Okay. Here we go. Question. And this is kind of a two-part question. Monster, your little monster that you use in the teaching sessions. So the question is, does this work for all genders? And this question's from Lorraine Worley, and then Erickson followed up with a question: does monster work for all ages? So what you can tell us about the monster? First of
Yes.
all, why use a monster? I mean, it's not a scary one you have, but tell us about.
Yeah. Well, the monster, I mean, I had read The Artist's Way a long time ago, and I don't know if anyone's read that book, but one of the first exercises you have to do is draw your monster, who is your judgment voice. And I found that for my own singing and for my students, that judgment voice is always in the room. And it doesn't help. I mean, we know now from neuroscience of learning, dopamine, if you're stressed or judgmental, it interrupts the process, and it's counterintuitive. And so I got this cute stuffed animal, and then I started using it with my pre-college students, my kids. And I decided on a whim to bring it to my adult class. And yes, it worked. I have the chief of he was actually on the live stream, I think. The chief of he's a neuropathology at UCSF, and he loves the monster. And it's like this academic guy, and he'll sing something and he'll say, "Oh, you're going to get the monster out, aren't you?" Because you saw me judging. So we're all kids at heart. We're all humans. I've taught all genders and in between and binary and it doesn't matter. We all sort of get that. And then if you have a cute one, that's sort of
Not as scary, right?
it's not as scary. I actually there's little monsters you can buy on Amazon, and I give them out to all my vocal physiology students at the beginning of the class. And they've actually said to me, they've written me emails, "Thank you so much. I actually bring it to my lesson and I keep it in my bag, and I know it's there, and my teacher doesn't know it's there." So there's these, mnemonic things that we use, but then there's also these psychological tools that do work. Try it.
Yeah, I agree. I'd have to agree, and because the monster, we know about this, right? Where is the monster in the room? The monster is right in here.
Yes.
And sometimes, hopefully, you don't have a coach like this, but sometimes the monster is actually the teacher.
Exactly.
And they might not be aware of that, but that's where you can get some really. I have to say, if you're experiencing psychological stress with your coach or with your professor, you need to address that with a third person, somebody that you can talk to about it. You don't have to go out and say, "This is the worst person in the world," but you need to talk to somebody about it and just say, "Look, it's not working for me. I feel immense psychological pressure. It's going to stifle your development. It's going to shrink your voice. There are only negatives in that kind of a relationship." So basically, sometimes the professor might not be aware of it. So, vocalize, talk about it. If you feel uncomfortable, bring a third person in that you can trust. But talk about this and just say, I'm feeling really inhibited. I'm actually scared of you. And the professors, that might be a shock. They're like, "What? Really? Oh, I'm so sorry." So a good professor is going to adjust and talk to you about, well, what is it? Maybe I'm miscommunicating something. And a good professor will also say, if that's the case, I'm interested in your improvement.
And I think,
Improve. So maybe you need to find work with somebody else. But a lot of people aren't aware of it, and a lot of people aren't sensitive to it. But I have witnessed being in a studio with very famous professors. I have witnessed some, and I kid you not, to this day, after 30 years of professional singing, some of the most beautiful voices where when I heard that voice, I'm like, gold mine voice. I've witnessed them. I've seen them shrivel up, quit, and the world will never hear their voice. That is not good pedagogics. It's not a good environment. That's why the monster can be in the room. And if it's a physical person, you need to address that and remove that person or remove yourself from that space.
That is such great advice. I mean, my husband just told me recently, I had a I'm not going to mention their name, but wonderful collaborative pianist, and every time, and we would even perform together, but like he'd spend an hour with me on like one note, like that onset. Now, pianist coaches are different than vocal coaches, right? Because they come from an instrumental background. So they think that I'm going to be able to be.
You must have been working on lead, song.
Yes.
Right? That can get so.
And it's like, my brain can't do this. And it was, here's a one, when we were performing, it was great, but I could not tolerate that interaction, and so I had to cut myself off from it, because
Yeah,
it wasn't healthy.
it's
It wasn't healthy. I couldn't make music if, I'm thinking about this one note and the temporal nature of my, it's like, no.
yeah. So everybody, you need to protect yourself and where you feel good. If you're a very nervous person, I understand, but express it. Was always surprised when people told me I could be intimidating or have a very high status, and I was really the first time people told me that I'm like, what? Seriously? I
No one's ever told me that, so I.
that apparently I can be very, very scary. And, but I'm not. I'm a fun, easygoing person. So I had to learn also to be sensitive to that, and also encourage my students. I tell my students, if you don't feel comfortable, let's say my clients, I don't like calling them students,
Yeah.
because when I was a professional singer and working with a coach, and I went to see his opera at, it's a house, a level where I performed at, and he introduced me to his colleagues as his student. I'm like, this isn't right. No,
Yeah.
because we're actually colleagues. I sing at the same level. But anyway, so my clients, I encourage them to say, if there's anything I suggest that's not working for you or you feel uncomfortable with, tell me right away. There are a lot of other approaches. So we want you to feel comfortable. Well, a good coach wants you to feel comfortable because we know the worst monster is in your mind.
Right.
And if that monster grows in size, he's going to eat up your voice. So we want him, in his little room on his own as
Mhm.
much as possible.
Yeah, externalizing it. That's basically what this is for, is the externalization of it.
Fantastic. All right. Well, Heidi, thank you again. So much fun. And
Thank you.
invite you sometime. I'm going to do just a crazy live stream where we're just live and anybody can show up and ask questions. But
That would be fun. It's like chatting, it's like a podcast where we can just chat back and forth, do some comedy in between.
we'll do a little show. But anyway, I want to tell you thank you one more time.
Thank you.
Loved your presentation, and
Thank you.
reactions were very, very positive. So thank
Good.
you. It was fantastic. Thanks for spending time on this Q&A, and we'll
Thank you.
stay in touch.
All right. Take care. Bye. Thank you.